Unless it's you been downloading dodgy porn sites.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Should we
Yeah.
should we start?
Go for it.
Yeah, I suppose the first thing we got to talk about is the footy. Finish that off.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about that. Oh yeah, and Hermes van decided to be reversing the side of mine today. That was nice.
Yeah, I heard about this.
How do you know that? Oh, mum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What happened there then, buddy?
Well, pulled in the car parking space and he just reversed straight inside of it.
Where was this?
Chatteris, you know the Apple Green roundabout petrol station.
Yeah.
I pulled in there to get some coffee and some stuff for lunch. And as I'm literally pulled in, and as I'm just about to get out the door, I can see this, like, I'm looking to my right thinking, this bloke's going to reverse into me. This bloke's going to reverse into me. He just went bang, straight into the side of me.
Were you parked near that wall?
Yeah, that's it. You got it, yeah.
So,
Why he's... All he had to do, he was only going on his break or something, and he didn't even know, he didn't even see me there. He must have seen me there. But he gave me all his details and done all that, so...
how bad's the van?
Well, it doesn't look very good, but I know you don't know these days. They write anything off, don't they? And then,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Oh, sorry to hear about
Not
that.
ideal.
No, that's
Not ideal.
a headache you don't want.
Yeah, you know, don't you?
Oh, there's always something just to test your patience, isn't there? As long as you're all right, buddy. I mean, it could have been worse, couldn't it? You could have been in it. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I hope that gets sorted out pretty quick. I suppose we could talk about something positive, which is Rookery water. It really is expanding at a rapid rate, isn't it?
Yeah. It's it's coming on all right, mate.
So
It's coming along
you've
all
got
right.
a new lake, haven't you? That's been dug.
Yeah. So we've got two actually.
Have I just
got,
woken you up? Am I boring you that much? You've fallen asleep already?
Yeah. I thought
Or are you
I thought
still?
he was talking about pike fishing or something. No. Yeah, so have we started?
Yeah, well, we started about 5 minutes ago, and that's why I've just been.
Well, I didn't hear the introduction.
No,
that's all.
I thought I'd jazz it up, and you started talking about your
Yeah.
van, and I thought that's why I said we better start off with the football. So
Yeah,
we started. Yeah,
football.
I was just waiting for you to wake up, really. But
Yeah, football. We don't want to talk about the football.
no, well, I don't think we played very well, but you boys were crap.
I tell you what, we'd lose to March Town the way it's going at the minute.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking. They are.
But at least,
Hey, what's the odds on Frank Lampard being the next Newcastle manager?
well, the merry-go-round has started, hasn't it? Tuchel got sacked from PSG. Pochettino takes his place, so he needs to go somewhere. So Lampard gets sacked, so he's in there.
Yeah.
Mind you, could anyone do any different than Steve Bruce with the players that Newcastle have got?
Well, at least they could pass the ball to each other without losing it.
Well, you could have
They are that bad. I've never seen anything like it.
Granit Xhaka and Mohamed El Neni because they actually face backwards. They get the ball, they turn around and pass it back. It's like safety first.
Yeah.
Safety first.
Unlike
a guy driving a van back.
I reckon Newcastle are still doing the mannequin challenge. I do. That's how crap they are. Every single one of them just looks like they're like that, facing the ball, just shimmying it like the mannequin challenge or something. And then when they get the ball, they freeze and they don't know what they do with it, so they just kick it as far as they can.
Do you think you're going to go down?
Never mind, it's only football, isn't it? Yeah. Well, at the minute, we're playing the worst football in the Premier League, so we deserve to go down, really. But don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Being a Newcastle fan, you get used to it now, anyway.
Yeah, we need Brighton to go down.
Brighton.
Yeah, then Arsenal are going to buy their good midfielder. That's the plan. Yeah.
Well, it won't make you any better, will he?
Well, anybody could. I don't know. Let's not talk football anyway, because it's a bit crap, isn't it? So
It's boring,
your
isn't it?
van got smashed into today by someone reversing. I mean, it's not as though
Yeah.
it's a very big garage with loads of space either, is it? Let's be honest. It's not as though you were parked out of the way in a parking bay.
No, it's just...
Yeah.
It's one of them, innit? He was frustrated. He genuinely didn't mean to do it. And what can you do? There's no point. It's just an accident, innit? It happens.
It does.
But, yeah, so all the aggro is sorting that out and all that rubbish. So we'll see, won't we?
But on the
more
positive
more
front,
rubbish you don't need.
Yeah, on the positive front though, like I said, you've had the new lake dug out at Pidley. It's called Crow, and it's a completely different shaped venue, isn't it? Do you want to just describe to the listeners what shape it is?
Well, I wouldn't say it's like nothing new, a groundbreaker or anything like that. It's just different to what we've got there. I mean, at the minute we've got a couple of canal lakes where it is pole dominated. We've got Magpie with a few feeder pegs, a few sort of pellet waggler pegs. Obviously got the big lake, which is pellet waggler, bomb feeder and different bits and bobs. But there's a match lake. We needed one where, if it is windy, on Jay and Raven, for example, when it's windy, the weights are a lot less because you just can't present your rig across there. Whereas Crow's 25 metres wide. No one's going to have the advantage of fishing across the far bank. I mean, it'll be just something different to what we've got at the fishery. And, there's plenty of fish in there. Loads and loads of fish. And different sizes as well. So it's not all take your brain out and catch 150 fish for £200. And once you're behind, you can't claw your way back. So, yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good, mate. Parking behind your peg, the all decent sized pegs.
We match anglers don't like to walk anywhere, so you've got the parking sorted. A couple of questions I'd like to ask you. First one is, when you designed the lake, did you take into consideration its relation to the prevalent wind? Is it shaped? Is it positioned in a certain way?
No.
Or was it just use
it's
what you had in as in available land?
It's quite awkward, because of the shape of the field. It's sort of set up high because the top of the field's high and the bottom of the field's really, really low. So we couldn't go into it's a floodplain apparently, so we couldn't go any further. So it's sort of set up high, but it's got a really lovely view when you'd be sat on your box. You're sort of looking down, if you know what I mean, on the rest of the fishery. So it'll be nice, It looks a bit rough and ready at the start, but you can't just dig a lake and it looks like Magpie in a week. You know what I mean? It takes years and years to establish.
Yeah. Have you worked out what direction winds are going to hit it from which angles?
Right. So if you sat there fishing, mostly it'll come from right to left, I would have thought. So it's blowing down it.
Because that could be quite interesting when you get up and running.
Yeah.
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 Are you going to put trees around it?
Yeah.
And landscape it?
Yes. Yeah. Plenty of vegetation, and like I say, it takes a little while for that to all mature and that, but I'm sure in 3 or 4 years' time it will look really nice like the rest of the lakes and fit in nicely, really.
Yes, I'm sure.
Cool. Be good.
It does look nice. I mean,
and then obviously,
when you undug it out,
and then obviously,
did you try and keep it even as well? Is it like just an even?
As even as, it's just your traditional sort of margin shelf, probably like a metre shelf, and then drops off to like 5.5, 6 foot all the way across, and then same on the far bank. But I always think if everything's all exactly the same and perfect, it doesn't. I don't know. Whereas, for example, Magpie, every year it changes with the erosion to the banks, and it just, I don't know. There's new things to find, and I think it'll take a year or two for that to sort of happen on there, and there'll be areas where the fish naturally form shelves and little holes, and it just needs to mature, mate. Really, simple as that.
Can you see what I'm doing? Sorry, I was doing a bit of merch. Yeah. Got a cup of tea. No, it looks like a lovely lake, and already you've got some cracking fish stocks in there.
Yeah. Obviously, we're just going down the carp and F1 route, and then over the time, silvers will probably get in there, and who knows, 10, 15 years time, it could be full of skimmers. You just don't know. The best way with a new lake is obviously carp and F1s. They're more hardy than what skimmers are, and that. So yeah, that's what people want, really. I mean,
doesn't take
people
long.
say do silverfish lakes and stuff like that, but problem is you can go on the local drains and have a brilliant day silverfishing for next to nothing. What's the point of doing a really good silverfish lake that, in all honesty, takes years and years to establish? And the best silverfish lakes in the country are full of carp as well. So, you need the anglers fishing for the carp to feed the silvers.
Yeah. How long do you reckon it takes for the natural food life to start establishing itself, like the larvae and that type of thing?
I don't really know, to be honest. I wouldn't think it takes too long. Once the sun starts coming out and things start warming up, things move quickly, don't they? And
yeah.
It's not like it's chlorine water from your tap. It's it's Fenland ditch water. So
you've got established lakes very close by, so birds and insects are going to migrate to it very quickly. I think it's fascinating.
I mean, there's already loads of ducks on there.
Yeah,
when I've been going around feeding them, there's millions of seagulls and terns about. They soon know when you start feeding them.
Wow.
So it don't take long.
I'd quite like to fish it once it gets established, just with a feeder, just to hit the far bank.
Yeah, chucking a little method across there, or you can do a bit of bomb and pellet waggler fishing. I think it'd be good. Like I say, it's something different from the rest of the lakes. But the lake that really I sort of like is we've got the real small one. It's only a little 7-pegger. As you drive into the fishery, the one on the right, we've filled it up now. When most people probably come, it was half full. Only probably had 2 foot of water, but now it's full. It looks a lot bigger, and that's going to be really good. It's going to be sort of tons of different species of fish. I think you're going to have roach, rudd, perch, skimmers, Prussians, tench, golden and natural green tench, chub, barbel, eyed, orf, everything in there basically. So that'll be a really interesting lake for pleasure fishing. Obviously, it's not going to be a match lake, but you're going to get plenty of bites all year round and plenty of species as well.
Yeah, I've got it on my little pad here, little lake, because I remember you dug that one out as well. Yeah, it does look nice.
Yeah, it's called Nutcracker.
Nutcracker. Hey, did you hear about the guy that stuck 2 mid-double pike in Crow? He's just waiting a few years for them to get really big.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, righto.
I reckon 3 or 4 years' time I'll be back down there.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a good idea, though, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant idea.
Yeah. I'll stick a couple in there. Let's see what happens. You won't know.
Natural stock pond for pike.
Yeah, they get a bit. What normally happens is one establishes itself, gets very big, and then but no, wouldn't be that cruel.
No. So we're going to do some netting this week. Going to net jackdaw. I know there's at least one decent perch in there, so I'll have to. What's wrong with my phone? It's terrible.
What? So you're going to net jackdaw? What are you going to do with the fish? Are you just doing a bit of a stock
I'm
take?
going to put some in there. Yeah, stock take. We put some carp in there in lockdown 1. Oh, what's wrong with this phone, man? You just about see me, I don't know.
Yeah, I got you. As long as the GoPro's working.
Yeah, so lockdown one week we took some of the small little carp, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 ounce a piece. They were homebreds from a couple of the little ponds, and put them into there, obviously, to grow on. So it'd be interesting to see what size they are now. I reckon they might be 12, 14 ounces, most of them. So we'll move them into Raven, Jay, just move them up to another lake and keep the stocks going. So
Cool. Good stuff. I'll tell you what we're going
plenty
to
to do.
I tell you what we're going to do. I reckon we should go straight into your ground bait video that you recorded for us. And then what we'll do, we'll start the podcast again like this straight afterwards. And then we could perhaps talk about a few questions with the ground baits as well.
Yeah.
Should we do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Let's just have a little pause here then.
So one of the biggest questions I get asked in a tackle shop is, what ground bait would I suggest? And with the COVID restrictions at the minute, obviously we can only fish local, and I thought I'd go through my mixes that I would use on local drains. I mean, you don't have to apply these mixes just for these venues, but perhaps venues that people fish elsewhere, they can sort of think, yeah, well, that's about similar depth, or yeah, that's similar to how what species I'm fishing for. So obviously we cater for loads of different venues in the tackle shop, and different times of year different ground baits work best. So we're going to start off with winter ground baits for small fish. So obviously our drains there, you can't be too selective. There's lots of skimmers. Obviously roach is the predominant species you target in. There's rudd, there's a bit of all sorts. So we're going to sort of talk about mixes for those species, and then maybe if we wanted to be more specific, which mixes to use for those. So for first example, obviously it's going to be the old Neen at March. It's probably 5 foot deep down the middle. Roach, skimmers, rudd, perch, bit of everything. So during sort of October up till Christmas really, when the water is still reasonably mild for March, the fishing is generally better. So you can use more coarser ground bait. So the mix that I would use earlier on in the year is probably Census Canal. Although it says it's canal, doesn't mean it's just used on a canal. It's more for our drains. I mean, they are canals at the end of the day. We all know that. So Super Black Canal, it's normally my base mix all through the winter and for any silverfish fishing. So it's just a basic generic mix. You could use that on its own. If you went to the tackle shop and thought, I'm getting a bit confused, I'm just going to use one ground bait for everything, you could probably use that. So I'm going to start off with that. If you was using it at Benwick as well, this would probably be the same mix. Now this one here is Fine Mature Noir. I mean, most people have probably seen these ground baits or used these ground baits before, but the packaging has changed, and it has confused a few people coming into the shop this year. So this is Noir. This is the mix I would probably use with Canal Black when the fishing's really good. It's a little bit coarser. Mix it the night before. You can use Aramix. I mean, you don't have to use Aramix, but for me it just deadens the mix, and I don't know, it just produces a few better stamp fish, which at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do on the drains. We can catch a fish a chuck, but it's sorting the better stamp fish out. So that's the mix that I would use up until it gets cold, probably up until it starts getting a bit frozen. And then instead of Noir, I would add Fine Mature Noir. So it is just basically a finer version of Noir. Mix 50-50. I mean, for most of the drains, a couple of kilos is plenty. Not very often you're going to need more than that. We'll come on to some of the other drains later on in the video, where we might need a bit more ground bait. So that sort of mix there. I mean, another one that a lot of anglers use is all three. You can use all three. The Frenzied Hemp's quite an active mix, so if you want to make it a bit more active, maybe for a few more smaller fish, maybe if it's a few rudd about, you know, that sort of thing, you'd add some Frenzied Hemp. It makes it more active and a bit more appealing. This is quite good ground bait for when the water is sort of flat and you're sort of waiting for fish to come. You know there's fish in your peg because all of a sudden your ground bait just starts to fizz and activates, and it can be a bit of an advantage for you. So that's the mix. I mean, even places like Well Creek, you know, very shallow venues in the towns, that mix there will catch you pretty much anything. Another mix that's very popular with anglers that come in the shop is G5. Another one, you could just buy one bag of G5 and it'd cover you for pretty much all of the drains. 2 kilo bag, again, going to be plenty for a session, 5-6 hour session. Right, so for these venues, when you're trying to target sort of the skimmers, those sort of fish, skimmers, hybrids, they like a bit of a softer mix. Those mixes can be quite sticky and tight. You can carry a bit of particles in there, so like your squats and the pinkies, or you could put casters with them and stuff like that. But skimmers and that like a more softer mix. They like to get sort of into it and make a bit of a cloud. And again, use the Canal Black, but I would probably add Black Lake. Lake's a very active mix. It's quite cloudy, and they're just, if someone said to you you're going to catch skimmers, you'd always add a bag of Lake into any mix. So that's sort of a canal mix, drain mix that I use, and I advise anyone coming in the shop to use. Right, so now we're going to move on to venues like the 20 foot, obviously chain bridge, footbridge, beggar's bridge. It's totally different why you're using ground bait. You're using ground bait as a carrier to get your pinkies or squats, maggots, whatever you're using, to the bottom, especially when it's flowing. So I normally well, if it's flowing, you probably want to be even more aggressive so you can get even more bait down. But starting ground bait, it's brilliant value. It's the Bowland Black Roach. It's £8 for 3 kilos. You can do anything you want with this mix. You can make it wet, you can make it sticky, you make it soft. So that's the base of this mix. And then what I then add is Turbo. So Turbo is a real good carrier. It's sticky. By adding it to this mix, it makes it bind better. It's heavy. I can get it down with loads of loose offerings. Sometimes you can get sometimes you want a pint of pinkies in use, probably 8 or 10 balls at the start, just so you've got that lovely base there. These two together, brilliant. But then if I want to give it even more weight, say for example with the rain we've had last year around Christmas and that, I would add soil. So just a bag of soil, reeled it off to this mix. It gives me plenty of ground bait to chuck in, and it gives you that weight. It gets down, then breaks up on the bottom. Soil's very good for making the ground bait break up. So you've got the bait going through the water as quick as possible, and then the soil helps open and break it up, leaving the pinkies there. So that's a mix that I would use if I want to be really aggressive and want to hold lots of bait. So put that back there. So obviously we use quite a bit of bread, whether you're fishing Well Creek, March, Town Welland, the Bedford at Welney, all respond to bread. I do use liquidised bread, but I tend to opt for the more punch crumb mix. And the reason why I use a punch crumb mix over liquidised is because this is heavier, it goes to the bottom and it stays where I want it to. Liquidised can be a bit too light and fluffy, and at March you want to be sort of making a target area and catching the fish over that little sort of area. And with liquidised, sometimes the other thing you've got to consider on these drains is the flow will increase, drop. It isn't a continuous sort of flow. So with this you can be more adaptable. You can make it wetter, you can make it softer, you can do anything you want. So my mix is 2 bags of the Tackle and Baits white punch crumb, or just ordinary white crumb. This is Alderson's one, and 1 bag of the Census punch crumb. Mix it night before. The other thing is to mix it with an atomizer. Don't add too much water too quick, because it just goes all claggy and you end up riddling it off and you just have lumps everywhere. The idea is just gradually add the water to it, and then in the morning when you get on the bank, riddle it off and just use your vaporizer just to get the right consistency. The other thing is essential with bread fishing is gravel. Census do a 3 mil gravel. Just add a bit. It just helps that bread get through that surface tension and go straight down. Like I explained earlier, you need that little area in your peg where you know the fish are going to be. You don't want them backing off down your peg and having to chase them down. You want them all in that small zone, and that just helps pin everything down. This gravel's brilliant. I've used pigeon grit before as well. It's a little bit too light sometimes, but always have a bag of gravel in your bag, and away you go. Just going back to the mix for the 20 foot. Sometimes when it is flowing and you want it really, really, really sticky, just add a bag of PV1, and that'll help bind it. So those are the ground bait mixes I would use. Obviously it's not the be all and end all for fishing these drains. Everyone has their own favourite mixes. In Gross Guidon's very popular. There's tons of different variants of what I've explained. But the best thing is to give it a go, play around, get confident with a few mixes and catch plenty of fish.
Alex, that was a lovely little video you did on ground baits then. So they're obviously the ground baits that you use at the minute, or would be using at the minute on a fen drain,
Yeah,
particularly
would
in
be.
matches. Would be.
Yeah. Yeah. Should be, not would be, should be using.
It should be. Yeah. Oh, don't. It's. I just can't wait. I keep thinking. Anyway, we won't go into COVID because we talk about it every week. No. Right, ground baits. So, that was a really nice sort of 10-minute section there. So people who obviously listen to the podcast through audio, hopefully you've got an idea of what Alex was talking about. But obviously people watching this on YouTube will know exactly what you are on about. And a bit like the pole floats last week, the best way to order this is to phone you directly.
Well, yeah, same. Give me a call, or if you want to ask questions and that. I mean, there is loads of different ground baits. A lot of ground baits do the same jobs as well. So, any questions, just give me a ring. It's easier to answer that way instead of a long email explaining it. The easiest way to get me is to phone me, definitely.
Cool. And what's the phone number again, buddy?
So the Tackle and Baits phone number is 07824 878 492.
Perfect. Okay, so let's just touch on ground baits again, just very quickly after that little video.
Yeah.
Because I know Polly does his. Polly's got his own make, hasn't he?
Yeah. There's tons and tons of different brands of ground baits.
Does Simon Willsmore have his own, or is that just? Did I make that up?
Well, no, he hasn't got his own, but he's had a sort of hand in the spotted fin natural range. Obviously, there's Census, Van der Nine, the original two. Census is probably the biggest. Daiwa do some good ground baits now. A lot of them, 99% of them are fish meal ground baits, apart from they do one called River, which I know a few of the lads have been using this year, and they really like it. It's a bit like Turbo. It's sort of quite sticky and sweet. So I know a lot of them have been using that in their mixes instead of Turbo this year, just riddling it out. And it's been quite good. What else? We've got Sonu. There's tons, mate. You know, I could fill my shop 3 times over just with ground baits.
Well, you've got basically 2 aisles full of ground bait and different types of pellet.
It's just natural ground bait, fish meal ground baits. There's all sorts, isn't there? So, but I mean, it isn't complicated if you keep it simple. And the key thing is knowing what each ground bait does, because you saw looking in a bag going, oh yeah, that looks nice because it's got a picture of a bream on it. Must mean I'll catch bream, but doesn't mean you won't catch roach and other fish. Normally, if it's bream, it's normally quite cereal-y, sort of sweet as well for bream, and quite fluffy, soft ground bait with bream, whereas a roach ground bait is more coarse and quite sticky because of the way they feed. And obviously, bream and carp love fish meal, so that's another ball game. You could do another 10-minute video talking about fish meal ground baits for commercials and carp, but we just covered the natural ground baits for local drains and natural venues, really.
I'm going to tell you a little tale now, and you're going to laugh, but it might ring a bell to when you first started fishing and what the old men used to tell you.
Right.
I was fishing with somebody before this lockdown. We were pike fishing, and he was telling me a tale of last year. He started throwing in balls of soil that have been pushed up by moles.
Yeah,
Right,
molehill, yeah.
and what he actually started getting runs from Pike
Yeah,
by throwing in, and he only did it on one of his. He had 3 rods out, and he used to throw
yeah,
the soil around one of the floats,
yeah, yeah.
and he was convinced that it just coloured up the water around there. And also, I was wondering whether I think the pike sometimes get trained by the match anglers putting ground bait in, and I think the
Yeah.
pike home in on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Have you
definitely.
have you found that?
Yeah, I know quite a few pike anglers that chuck ground bait in and put a dead bait over the top. I mean, some venues in the winter you have to fish your peg to avoid the pike, to stop the pike from coming in. I know Rob Pearson did a video, an underwater video. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you at Benwick? Have you seen that
No,
one?
I haven't. No.
No, you want to watch that because everyone goes, "Oh, it's gone quiet. It must be a pike in my peg." You don't really know, do you? But this footage quite clearly showed every time a pike went in his peg, he stopped catching. And it was obvious that they just come in your peg and then move off again. And Raveley Drain was a prime example, and now Ramsey St Mary's. I don't feed any ground bait, none whatsoever, because if you feed ground bait, they're straight on it, mate. Absolutely straight on it, and then you just have them all day long. So yeah, some venues you have to avoid the pike. The other thing is balling. On some venues, you'd cup, like Littleport. Some years, not many years, cupping was better than balling, because if you balled it, you just attracted every pike in the river.
Wow.
So
Really?
yeah, you could see people that would ball it and they're just getting piked to death, whereas someone that's cupped it a bit quieter. So I can understand why your mate does it, and probably the noise factor more than anything with the pike.
Well, he just did it on this one drain. Just happened to be molehills. And I remember when he was a young lad that obviously the old boys used to tell him about. They used to put soil in their ground bait.
Yeah. Well, people still do that all the time. Obviously, soil. We do use soil on venues like the 20-foot or venues where you've got heavy ground bait, but it's all about getting the particles down to the bottom. So what the soil does, it actually breaks up the ground bait. So you can have a really sticky ground bait with the soil, but once that goes, the soil takes on the water and breaks that ball of ground bait and obviously releases your particles. And then obviously if you're bloodworm and joker fishing, perch love that earthy, they love it. Just feeding little balls of soil with a little bit of grey leam in with a few jokers, fishing the bloodworm over the top, catching perch and all sorts.
That's interesting, because the week after I was fishing with this guy, I hardly ever fish with anybody, so it was a bit of a rare occurrence.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to have a social because we were real struggling. And then I was on a completely different drain, and someone else I knew just come down to have a chat for about an hour or so. And he did exactly the same thing. He saw these molehills and he started picking up this soil and going, "Oh, look at that." And I thought, do you know what? Fishing amazes me because there's always something that you've heard of and forgotten about, or there's always something else you can be thinking of to try and improve whatever discipline you're doing.
Some leams are a clouding leam. Some leams are like Turtle Riviera is a real heavy leam. So you have that to give weight to get your ground bait down to the bottom. Som's quite a cloud, and obviously all the brands do different ones. So yeah, there's just tons and tons. There's like Litu, which is like really cloudy, which a lot of people use that in their sort of bream mixes just to create that nice yellow lingering cloud. And particularly on our Fenland drains in the summer when it's gin clear, making that cloud where the fish feel safe is a big thing, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So basically, just to clarify, a leam, is that just kind of like a...
It's soil.
Yeah,
it's
soil.
It's a type of soil, yeah.
Type of soil. That's probably very fine and has it had the crap taken out of it, basically?
Well, different soils, you can travel down the road to Tid, and there's when you've got a molehill on side there where they've recently dredged it, when a molehill comes there, it's really fine and soft. So that's like your Terre de Somme type of thing.
Yeah.
Then you might go somewhere else that's a bit more sandy. Each part of the area, just in our area, is totally different soils.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, different soils do different things.
It isn't. It's never ending. There's so much to consider, and you don't have to. But if you really want to get into the ins and outs, you could, like you said, you could really go to town on it, couldn't you? But and also you could probably confuse yourself to death if you're not careful as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah,
yeah. But that's another good thing. I think if people have got questions, then obviously give Alex a phone call. He's very busy doing eBay orders, but that'll keep him even busier, so that'd be good. Keep you at the shop for 20 hours a day now. I mean,
I can do two things. I can talk and do eBay orders at the same time,
you've now opened Pandora's box here.
Whoa.
You're going to get a phone call to death. But no, that'd be quite good. And then obviously speak to Alex about ground baits and leams and order loads off him as well, so that'd be cool. So he can buy a new van.
Yeah.
Oh, look, your phone is giving up the ghost again.
It's all messages and WhatsApp groups and all sorts coming through.
Now, that leads me on to the final thing we need to bore everybody about tonight. But I've had an idea, Alex. And in order to do this, you're going to have to buy a new phone. Because your phones are awful. If people could see what I'm looking at, it looks like I can kind of see Alex on his phone, but it's kind of like this haze. It looks like you're some kind of angel.
I am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
You are?
You know that, yeah.
Archangel Alex, yeah.
Yes.
You're kind of like up in heaven. You've got this lovely glow around you, yeah. No, what I was thinking, and it might be quite cool, and I don't know how we could do a podcast off this, because doing the audio would be the problem, but there must be a way around it. I'm thinking maybe we could do a live stream.
Yeah.
So if we could get a decent Wi-Fi connection wherever you are, maybe we could.
What, like a Bob Nudd? Like a Bob Nudd special?
Is that what he did? Sir Bob?
No, that's what Bob does, doesn't he? Sir Bob. You must have seen Sir Bob's videos.
No. But I did try. Right. 2 weeks ago, I saw Tom Scully.
Yeah.
Shouted abuse at him across the river, obviously in a nice way, and said, "Can you get Sir Bob on the podcast?"
And what did he say?
He said he'll do it for 3 weed rakes.
Oh, right, yeah. What, personally signed one? Or?
Yeah, they have to be engraved, yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
But no, I know.
Yeah, I like that one.
Apart from the weed rakes, he was actually there, and he didn't say anything.
He's there every day, isn't he? I can't believe you don't see his live feeds. He's always outside yours fishing.
I'm gonna have to charge him, aren't I? Or let him use my Wi-Fi, so he's got better connection.
Good old Bob. They're brilliant videos, aren't they? They are awesome. I mean, it's someone that's fished all the time, never gets bored, and it's mad, absolute mad.
He loves it, doesn't he? Which is great. Well, I thought
he does. It's brilliant.
I didn't actually think about Bob No, but I thought if this carries on with this kind of like separation and lockdown, maybe if we can work out the tech and get you a good Wi-Fi reception, maybe we could do some type of live streams with you fishing at Pidley or something. I don't know, or whatever.
Right.
It might work. So the reason I said that on the podcast is people are pretty good at sending in comments. So if people have got any ideas about what we could do, then obviously start commenting to us. Leave the comments on the YouTube or messages on the Tales from the Tackle Shop Facebook page, and we'll try and implement something, because I think this could work. I've just got to try and get my head around it. I'm thinking you could be fishing, I could be sat in my front room, and I could be like asking you questions as you're doing it, and perhaps changing things round as people are making suggestions.
I had an idea like that in the first lockdown when I was living on site, and I thought, look, I could get my gear there, look, and get a camera set up and do a live fishing stream or whatever, but I thought, how am I going to see the questions when my phone's going to be behind me?
I know you can't do it. I don't know how you do it yourself, because you're going to be peering at your little screen. I think it would need me directing it and questions to you, and all you've got to worry about is the fishing and answering the question and trying things out, and maybe asking people for, what do you think I should do, this or this, and I don't know. I think there's scope for it, and I think if we did it at the correct time of a day on a specific day, so it would have to be in the morning at a weekend, I don't know, but it might work, and it might be something, really fun and more interactive, because this is okay, but it's very difficult for us to find new material to keep everyone interested, isn't it? So I just thought that might just work. I don't know. Maybe we should try one towards the end of this season, see how it goes, and see if we can kind of get on top of the tech and go from there. Because I know myself and Tom Moyer are going to try one with the BFS, the bait finesse system. We spoke about it today, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and do an hour down the riverbank. Mm-hmm. I'll be in charge of the tech using my phone, and he's got his phone connected to it. And then we're going to kind of meet up, but socially distanced, and I'm going to have some questions for him.
Right.
About the finesse baits and things. And we were going to practice offline, if that makes sense. Keep it private so no one can see it, just see if it works. And then I thought, this could work even better with you, because we're not moving, you're static. So, don't know. Yeah. So if anyone's got any ideas about that, we'll give it a go, because I think this could be really quite interesting, because maybe you could use different pieces of tackle that people want to see as well.
Right.
New pole. I know there's a lot of interest recently in seat boxes, so maybe we're going to do that at some point, aren't we? We're going to look at the new seat boxes that are out.
Yeah.
So that, we were thinking about the seat boxes, that might work really well on the live feed, mightn't it?
Yeah.
So guys out there, let us know what you think, and we will try and put it into practice, because like I said, I think the scope for this is endless. It's just really having the technology, the knowledge of the technology.
You there, mate?
To do it. Yeah, I'm here. The internet keeps cutting in and out. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Okay, buddy. Right. So, are you up for giving that a go? If we can get it sorted,
we can give it a go, boy.
Give it a go. Perfect. Oh, excuse me. I'm coughing down the mic. Right. Is there anything else that you want to chat about tonight?
Oh yeah, I see a new PB ZANDER.
Did you see what one guy put on there as a comment?
No.
He actually thought that was the first ZANDER I've ever caught.
Well, to be honest, it might well be. We've not seen no proof of this, have we? So
I didn't even catch it. I saw it floating past me. I picked it up. Poor thing was dying. It was literally about 3 inches long. And I just thought that'd be quite a funny thing to put up.
They're not very hardy, them ZANDER at that size, are they?
No. That was in November. It was just floating past me, and I thought, bugger me, that's popped up from the depths. That's on its last legs. Yeah. But it was titchy, and that was obviously, it must have been this year's fry.
Probably, mate,
yeah.
Probably, yeah.
But a small ZANDER, I mean, that wasn't a very good example, but you get a little one. They are beautiful with the fins, and they're beautiful little things. But, my plan was to get a clonker out back end, but COVID has kind of screwed that as well. But you never know.
You never know.
Never say never. Yeah. There was something else I was going to say to you, but I really can't remember what it was. It would have to wait till next week. I think we've probably exhausted most things. I think finally was, are you going to get out fishing at all this week?
I may go Sunday. I may go. Literally, my gear is on my barrow in my bait shed, and I'm moving it in and out each day. And I look at it and go, really? Just can't be bothered at the minute. I think a lot of match anglers feel the same. I might go. Probably go Sunday, I think, on the beloved March. Got to give it a go.
I think you have, buddy. I think there's I think the fish are in different places than normal. I think that flow pushed them into different places, and there's some quality roach about.
Yeah, that's what I want. Something a bit different. That's the thing, Yeah. When you're in a match, you're sort of keen and fishing the venue. You're on it, aren't you? But when you go pleasure fishing, it's like, really?
Well, I got that bigger pole float off. You didn't know how to trot through like a stick float.
Yeah.
And of course, we haven't had the rain hasn't come through, so I can't use it. There's not quite enough flow to get it to go down. But for everybody listening, I was going to just fish bread, wasn't I, to try and catch some bigger roach.
Old school, weren't you?
Yeah, but not so
Like
pos-
all your fishing.
Yeah,
Old school.
but I was going to use a titchy hook. I was going to use a size 16.
Yeah, titchy, that's gaff.
That's titchy.
Yeah,
Can't even see the bloody thing. It's so small.
yeah.
But,
Size
yeah.
16
Well, I'll tell you
animal
what.
hook.
If you at least I know I've hooked to it.
Yeah,
If you're out on Sunday, have to give me a bell. I'll bring you a cup of tea down, but obviously I'll socially distance and
Yeah.
I shall have my landing net extended and
yeah,
pass it to you. But
Yeah.
no, I think you need to get out. I've been out doing bits and bobs. I've been trying to catch some little perch on these finesse lures, but the water temperature's plummeted the last few days, hasn't it? With all the snow melt we've had in and the frosts. But
yeah.
I did manage to get one out today. I only went for 10 minutes and I got one about half a pound, so things are improving. But I shall give that a bash the rest of the week and see if we can get a pike or two, but I'm not quite sure where from locally because a bit hamstrung. All right, buddy. Well, let's hope you get out on Sunday. Let's hope you get your van
Yeah.
sorted.
Yeah,
Any ground bait questions? Obviously, Alex has said just phone him because he's very bored at the shop. He's got nothing to do.
oh yeah.
And yeah, we'll just see if we can get out and do a bit. And obviously, people, questions about the live stream, please. If you've got any ideas, we'll see if we can give it a go at some point in the near future. Right, buddy, I think we've exhausted all the things we have to talk about this week.
Yep.
Thank you for your time as always. And I think I'll just wrap it up and say this has been Tales from the Tackle Shop, a Fenland Fishing TV production.